Greetings from your 401k investment advisor, Scott Campbell. Before getting into the numbers for the U.S. markets for the second quarter this year, let's review last quarter, shall we? The media was sounding the alarms. Tariffs were going to drive inflation through the roof, our economy into recession, and crash the stock market. Looking back, the stock market was doing great last year, especially leading up to the election. Investors were feeling very positive about a pro-growth Trump administration. Immediately following the election, however, the market turned negative. The market continued to underperform through the end of last year and into this year. On Liberation Day in April, when the tariffs took effect, the market dropped again. And the media went into overdrive about the negative future ahead caused by the Trump tariffs. But lo and behold, the stock market has turned around. As I stated last quarter, the media's negativity was totally overblown and very inaccurate. In the second quarter this year, the stock market was up 11.08% and now up 5.7% for the year. A tremendous quarter has put us back on track for the year. The market in the second quarter returned to setting record highs every time the market ends on a high. The stock market surpassed the level it was at the day before Liberation Day when the tariffs kicked in and surpassed the previous record highs recorded before the election. We are back in the black, baby. Bonds returned to their recent behavior with short-term bonds producing the highest returns for the quarter, followed by intermediate-term bonds. And unfortunately, long-term bonds produced a negative return for the second quarter. Year-to-date, short-term bonds returned almost 3%, intermediate-term bonds returned 3.75%, and long-term bonds around 3.38%. The other problem with the media, aside from blowing the negativity totally out of proportion, have you heard the mainstream media mention they were wrong or even that the market has totally recovered? Yeah, I don't think so. It's very important to note that when the market was down in the fourth quarter last year and the first quarter this year, as long as you were saving in the 401k, you bought great stocks at discounted prices. Now that the market has recovered, all those cheap stocks aren't so cheap. The difference between the discounted price you bought and the current record-setting value is your profit, and those stocks are only going to go up from here. That period of time was a terrific example of buying low and is referred to as a buying opportunity, not exactly how the media described it. Let's talk about tariffs. Inflation's dropping, many prices are dropping because energy prices are dropping. High energy prices increase the cost of almost everything. Eggs are once again affordable. Great for me because I love a high-protein breakfast. Tariffs are used to level trading with countries around the world because they already put tariffs and limits on U.S. products exported to their countries to protect their domestic products. Either by not allowing U.S. products or by adding a tariff makes the U.S. product more expensive and uncompetitive in their marketplace. The one most important fact that's not mentioned in the tariff discussion, the U.S. is the best marketplace in the world. Simply put, we have the most consumers with money, and we're all proven spenders. All the world wants to sell their products here. Trump is retaliating with tariffs on foreign exports to this country, making their products more expensive here, which means less sales for them. Trump is also using tariffs to negotiate equal trading deals with foreign countries. So the tariffs they add are the same as the tariffs we add, or we eliminate tariffs altogether. Trump, being the master negotiator, adds and lowers, threatens and delays tariffs to encourage trade deals. Be aware, Trump has announced tariffs will be increased again on August 1st on countries that are not willing to negotiate. So be prepared for tariffs to be applied, the market to drop, then negotiations to take place and deals will be struck, and the market will recover. It's the same old song. Tariffs have produced actual gains. Companies around the world have pledged investment of upwards of $2 trillion into the U.S., building new manufacturing plants and expanding their operations, all to avoid tariffs. That's the main purpose of tariffs, to increase and expand manufacturing here in the U.S. Tariffs have also brought in over $98 billion in revenue to the U.S. Treasury. To be honest, when Trump first announced tariffs during his first term as president, I was very doubtful about how the revenue from tariffs was actually going to be collected. I was skeptical that it could be done at all, but I was clearly wrong. Tariffs are collected and deposited into the U.S. Treasury. Up until the early part of last century, tariffs were the primary source of revenue for the U.S. government. They've been used by both parties since the founding of the country. I would suggest that most of the opposition to tariffs are really opposition to Trump. Another area of contention for the opposition to Trump is the opposition to Doge. If you've been listening to me for any length of time, you know my primary concern with the federal government is the debt. The U.S. is now over $37 trillion in debt. The annual interest on that debt is over $1 trillion. The debt is unsustainable. All responsible people understand and agree. The only responsible thing to do is to cut spending. The federal government simply does not have the money to do all of the things they're currently spending on. They spend way too much money. Unfortunately, Elon Musk was only able to cut a small percentage of the total amount of spending that needs to be cut. But Doge will continue to operate and will hopefully continue to produce results. I am at least comforted that cutting spending is finally a topic of discussion in the political class. Trump's big, beautiful bill passed into law. First off, it isn't perfect. Anybody who expects perfection from the government needs to get some fresh air. It's just never going to happen. But the bill makes permanent the tax cuts Trump implemented in his first term. For the record, every tax bracket was reduced. All taxpayers got a reduction in their taxes. And if the big, beautiful bill had not passed, all taxpayers would have been hit with a tax increase. And that would have definitely caused a recession. On a side note, the cuts to Medicare are simple. Removing illegal aliens and those fit to work from receiving benefits are the cuts. No one in need will be cut. I think it's terrible given the debt that people would mischaracterize these important fiscal steps. Entitlements or welfare are the biggest expenditure of the government. To really cut spending, these programs need to be analyzed. We all know and have seen real-life examples of people gaming the system. The fraud, waste, and abuse must be identified and eliminated. Another aspect of the Trump agenda investors were excited about was deregulation. This has been addressed and is going on in earnest. All the attention has been focused on tariffs, Doge, and the big beautiful bill, so most of this work has gone on unnoticed, and it's not very exciting to report. But deregulation in the financial services industry is already boosting stocks in that sector, and more is coming from the administration on this. There is no question that reducing regulation boosts growth. Reducing the overhead on companies is good for growth, and most people agree we have enough regulation. The big tech stocks that drove the market upwards last year and then downwards at the end of the year and the first quarter this year are back to setting record levels. In fact, Nvidia set a record just today. We are at the beginning of the earnings announcement season for the first quarter. Remember, corporate profits or earnings are what really drives the stock market. Earnings are expected to be good this time around, and that is very good for the stock market. Current readings on inflation show it's dropping, prices are dropping, the economy's doing fine, the market's going in the right direction. Where does the market go from here? It's hard to tell, especially since the normal seasonal trends are out. The U.S. market normally does very well in the first quarter. This first quarter, it dropped 5%. Summers, the market doesn't really do much. The economy's at its slowest in the summer. So, the second quarter was phenomenal. The economy and the market are doing fine. Enjoy the summer, and please reach out if you have any questions or need any help. Thank you.